snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so today I am here to do some reviews and I have dyed my hair. Yes, if you guys were wondering, I just kind of felt like dyeing it and giving it a change. So the book that I'm going to be reviewing today is Stormdancer by Jay Kristoff, and I'm also going to be talking about Praying for Rain, which is the kind of novella that goes along with this series. So this is the main book and then there's the novella as well. So Stormdancer I was really looking forward to reading, as you guys probably already know, because I really liked the cover and I thought it was very beautiful, and I ended up giving this one a 4.5 star rating out of 5. So I really enjoyed this story. It was a little slow at the beginning, but as soon as I got into the middle section I definitely felt like this was a really fun storyline, and the characters and the culture that we saw and experienced were just so interesting and different. And for a YA read, I really enjoyed it. It's got a very kind of Japanese steampunk YA feeling throughout the whole story. It's definitely got a lot of aspects which are really interesting because Japan is very unique and very different to the culture that we have in Western civilization, and so just learning about the Japanese culture and the morals that they have was really fun. But also then you have the steampunk elements. They have all sorts of really interesting and cool machines that they can fly around in. They have really cool technical little devices that they can use on all sorts of different things. They have people who wear full body suits. It's all just very cool, very exciting, and very kind of new age technology. So sounds really interesting and very cool. So basically this story focuses on Yukiko, who is the daughter of Masaru, and they are a Japanese family. They live and they work for the shogun, who is basically like an emperor or a king, and they have to do as he commands because they are all under his command. Masaru is the head hunter. He hunts down animals and beasts and excellent wildlife specimens for the shogun whenever he wants, but they've basically hunted the world dry of most of the really interesting and exciting animals, so there's not really much to go around anymore, and there's really very few very interesting and unique characters in this world, because the ones that used to live there and the ones that used to inhabit the world have basically been driven away by humanity and the steampunk machinery that they use all the time. There is also this thing which is called blood lotus, which is basically this crop that they have planted all over the place, and it basically poisons all of the different land around it, and it means that the land is basically unusable for years to come, and that's really not a good thing. So that is another reason why all the wildlife has basically deserted this area. Basically, it's a world where the rulers sort of hide away all of the problems from the common people, and the common people who work in these big towns, they don't really understand that there is this big problem of wildlife and lack of resources and things like that because of this blood lotus plant. It's very much a ruling class has taken over the situation, and everything is kind of however they want it to be as opposed to however it should be. So basically the main storyline is that Yukiko and her father Masaru have been sent by the shogun to find an Arashitora, which is basically a thunder dragon, and this is a very rare creature. There hasn't been one seen in hundreds of years, so they are very unlikely to find this creature, and they go off in search of it, hoping that they'll come across it somehow. And of course they do, and all sorts of terrible, tragic, interesting, fun, and just very insightful and exciting adventures happen from that point of the story onwards. So I'm not going to tell you any more about that, but I would say that this is a really interesting and very fun story. The concept of Japanese steampunk, if that sounds appealing to you, I'm sure you'll like it. And the writing is very beautiful, so I would definitely recommend this story. There is this thing called the kenning, which is in this story, and it's basically an animal-human bond, and it's kind of like where the animal talks inside of your head if you have a bond with them, and you can kind of share a brain almost. You can kind of share thoughts with each other, and it's kind of like telepathy. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that, and I definitely enjoyed seeing the animals' points of view in this story because I thought that was something very cool and very interesting to really learn about. The world is divided up into 4 different clans. Each of these clans has sort of nobility, and they all have their own generations of followers. The clans are the Tiger Clan, which is the clan that the shogun is from, so that's definitely the top tier. And then we also have Dragon, Phoenix, and Fox, and Yukiko is a fox, so they work for the shogun. And these clans basically allow the author to really show and make a point of the honour and kind of swearing yourself to loyalty to this clan. The decisions that people make a lot of the time in this story can be questionable because they make them for honour rather than for the right reasons, perhaps, sometimes. But I think that's a really interesting way of thinking about things, and it definitely brings to mind the fact that this is set in Japan and it is a different culture to where we live. On the whole, I would say that it's a very wonderful story. I really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to pick up the next one, which is why when I found out that Praying for Rain is out, which is the novella, I picked that up. So basically, Praying for Rain is a 20-page novella. It's very, very short and very sweet, and it's just kind of an introduction into the world and people who have the kenning and how they are kind of being exploited. Basically, having the kenning means that you have an animal-human bond, and it's one of those things that the nobility are quite scared of because most of the people who have the kenning in their genes have died out, and it's very, very rare. But it's a problem that means that actually if you have a human and animal bond, you could be a much more powerful contender to the people of nobility who do not. And so it's quite a threat to their power, and that's why they don't like people with the kenning. And this little short story is just a really, really sweet story, very sad as well, that kind of introduces you to someone with the kenning and shows what happens to them if they get discovered and things like that. So I definitely would say that it's worth reading. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, highly enjoyable, definitely as good as the book for a tiny little snippet. And I would highly recommend this series to you guys. I would love to know if you've read them. I really am enjoying the series and I want to pick up the next ones soon. So please let me know if you've read the next ones as well, because I would love to know if they are just as good. And I will see you all very soon. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little